Welcome to the Why on Earth Community Podcast. I'm your host, Aaron William Perry, and today we have a very special live audience episode recorded at the Riverside in Boulder with our dear friends Henry Mitchell IV, Miranda Clendening, and Dawn Hall. How are you guys?
Doing well.
Yeah, excellent.
It's great to be with you.
You too.
Especially because tonight we're talking about community resilience and disaster preparedness, something that's, I believe, important to everybody everywhere, especially given some of the current circumstances that we face in our communities throughout the region and throughout the world. To kick off, I want to just tell you a little about our guests, and then we'll jump into the conversation. Miranda Clendening is a regenerative community developer, researcher, and global speaker who lives in Boulder, Colorado. She is the chief coordinator at the Riverside Boulder River Tree Sanctuary, One World Academy, and One Team Coordination Hub and Renewal Center, and serves as the Director of Operations and Community Development at the Empowerment Institute's Center for Reinventing the Planet for their Peace on Earth by 2030 game, which is now active in 69 countries. Miranda is a United Nations ambassador to Africa and has been part of the Global Science and Technology Innovation Summit for the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals since 2018. She is also the chief ambassador at unify.org and a core business developer for the One Boulder, One Local, and Core Nexus technology platforms. She also wrote the essay in our new book called Our Biggest Deal, and her essay is titled The Mycelial Model for Planetary Prosperity, Community Mobilization, Global Connectivity, and Technological Amplification. Henry Mitchell is a seasoned disaster planner and emergency manager with experience spanning the public, private, and nonprofit sectors in coordination with local law enforcement, state agency, and federal agency partners. We say Henry is a master of disaster, actually, because he's got a master's degree in this field. He currently serves as the Deputy Director of the Office of Emergency Preparedness and Response for the state of Colorado, where he leads initiatives in disaster preparedness, planning, and response coordination with a strong focus on human-centered leadership, biosecurity, environmental justice, and effective grant management. Henry has played a key role in some of the most critical emergencies in recent years, including leading local government COVID-19 responses, managing emergency operations centers, and serving on incident management teams, and as an EOC manager during major events such as the Marshall Fire that affected so many of us right here in this community not too long ago. His approach is defined by a commitment to producing high-quality functional emergency plans using trauma-informed principles and maintaining a calm, steady presence in high-pressure situations, which is indeed one of Henry's superpowers. I've seen it in action. He is founder and CEO of World Aware Emergency Preparedness, LLC, which provides consulting and preparedness products and advising services for governments, communities, institutions, and families. Henry wrote the essay for our new book called, the essay is called Planning and Preparedness for Community Resilience. And that's in our new book, Our Biggest Deal. Dawn Hall is currently training coordinator for Transition Network International and the author of the Regeneration Handbook, Transform Yourself to Transform Your World. He has served in a variety of capacities throughout the International Transition Towns movement over the past 17 years, including as Education and Outreach Coordinator for Transition Colorado, founder and executive director of Transition Sarasota in Florida, and executive director of Transition US. Dawn holds a master's in environmental leadership from Naropa University, a certification in permaculture design from the Central Rocky Mountain Permaculture Institute. That's our friends up at Crimpy, Jerome Osentowski, and blogs at evolutionarychange.org. He wrote the Transition Network International Case Study vignette in our new book, Our Biggest Deal. So all three of Don, Miranda, and Henry have been significant contributors to this new book, Our Biggest Deal, Pathways to Planetary Prosperity. And we hope everybody will get a chance to check out the book at whyondearth.org or your favorite bookstore. So, having set the stage, having introduced my friends here, I want to kick things off by asking Don, you to help frame for us why community resilience, disaster preparedness matters. Why now? What's the relevance? What's the context?
Yeah, so community resilience has been the main focus of the Transition Towns movement from the very beginning in 2006, 2007 in the UK. At that time, it was less of a well-known concept. A lot of people were talking about sustainability, but resilience was kind of on the cutting edge of that. I think now we're all much more familiar with that term. We're much more familiar with why this is important. More frequent natural disasters created by climate change, wildfires, droughts, floods, hurricanes. I think often when we talk about community resilience, we talk about things like building seawalls for sea level rise or thinning out forests to prevent wildfires. But I think there's also kind of a deeper set of risks that community resilience responds to, which is that we have a global industrial economy that is deeply unsustainable and is just starting to run up against the finite limits of Earth. And so not only are these risks that have been with us for ever been heightened by this situation, but it's spawning new risks altogether. And I think that means, not only preparing ourselves for disaster, our families, our communities, but also changing the systems that we depend on and that are so fragile and vulnerable to change.
Thank you, Don. Really, really appreciate that framing. And I was hoping, Henry, you could pick up from there and tell us a bit about some of your perspective as a professional emergency response planner and manager. With what Don's saying, how do you look at all of that through your lens day in and day out?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think resilient communities are possibly one of the biggest pieces of successful disaster preparedness, right? If we have strong connections with our community members, if we understand our strengths, also if we understand the needs of our communities, right? So if we have a neighborhood that is X size, right? And we start to get to know our neighbors, start to understand what they do, start to understand what they're about. Also, we'll start to understand what some of their needs are, if any of our neighbors have access and functional needs. If any of them, are dependent on durable medical equipment that, in the instance of a power outage, might be impacted by that. If they have certain medications or if they need help doing just the everyday tasks of getting to the grocery store, X, Y, or Z, if we know that, then we're better able to help them out. And so, I'll kind of get into this a little bit later, but it's not necessarily about the stuff that you have. The stuff is important and it's good. I have a list of stuff that I carry all the time as well. But also it's about building those neighborhood or those community connections and supporting each other. One thing that I've seen out there in the preparedness world is the rush to do whatever it takes to protect my homestead and fend off X, Y, or Z if this happens. Watch out for the looters and they're going to come for your things. But honestly, that's not the reality that we see after disasters. What we see after disasters are communities bonding. We see people getting outside and helping each other. We see neighborhoods feeding each other, helping each other out. That is the reality of what we see. It's not, the fantastical, movie scenarios like The Road or Mad Max. It's not that. To be honest, like after every disaster, we see people coming out in droves to help each other. And I think that is one of the reasons why I feel community resilience and community connections are one of the biggest pieces of disaster preparedness.
Yeah, thank you. It's so interesting, and one of the things I'm really intrigued by is how so much of what we're speaking to is situated in local and regional geographic contexts. And also, there are global networks like the Transition International Network that are providing tools and know-how to communities all throughout the world and providing increased connectivity among and between these communities. And in Miranda, instead of ladies first in this round, we're ladies last. But I purposely did that because I wanted you to share with our audience the several different organizations you're helping to lead, both in local, hyper-local efforts and in global efforts. And I was hoping at the tail end of that, you would also speak a bit about how you're foreseeing and already implementing certain technologies that can be helpful to all of us.
Yeah. My background is as a nurse and holistic and emergency and triage nurse to begin with. So I happen to have gone a whole other direction and be doing community development now, but worked Hurricane Katrina, worked the flood that happened here, was stuck in triage for 5 days straight and couldn't get home to my kids, and every road washed out. And in all of that, learning exactly what you guys are saying, community getting together and knowing each other and being prepared is the most important thing you can see in all of that. And in an emergency, the community is going to have to come together with each other. So I truly believe that we can do that ahead of time. So some of the groups here, Cohere in Boulder, is a group that does an annual event where many community leaders come together, 120 leaders of different organizations. And one of the things we're discussing right now is survival games at a neighborhood level. So gamifying and just doing, we have a lot of resources for emergency preparedness at an individual and family level. At coolblock.org, we've made all of our resources free for how to engage your neighborhood, how to be resilient as a family, how to pack your go bag, which every single person in the family should have a go bag, literally packed and that's ready to just go out the door in case alarms go off or you need to get out of there. Sometimes disasters are shelter in place. You could be without power for the next 24 hours, 48 hours, 2 weeks at home. So some of it's prep your home, be ready for those. But we have all those resources. At Apocalypse Proof, we created kind of a free course for people as well here. But I am really excited for the Surthrival Games to kind of launch here. And in the process of that, we're also working on setting up a CERT team, which is a community emergency response team. I'm a little bit surprised that Boulder doesn't have that. In Crestone, we set one up last minute in the middle of COVID because all of our elders couldn't leave their houses and were at danger of getting sick, and they needed groceries, and the fire department was given orders not to leave and help take care of people, to keep themselves from getting sick and be available for fires and that kind of thing. So we kind of had to, like we had to just use it. But CERT team resources are free also. And you can use those resources to kind of set up communication flows, set up coordination of what needs to happen, and doing it ahead of time. I highly, highly recommend. And then going to any free offerings that are about learn first aid or learn how to coordinate in a disaster. So those are some of the fun things we're going to be doing in Boulder, just to help people be comfortable. But it goes a million miles to have people in a neighborhood that have prepped already and know who has a generator, who is on oxygen and might need the generator 3 houses down, who has emergency walkie-talkies, or like I'm crazy enough to, I have 5 kids and I have kind of prepped to the max, like in case nobody's gonna come and take our stuff either. But yeah, it is all about being prepped. People are going to come together in an emergency, but why not come together first? And then if the emergency doesn't happen, you know all your neighbors and what they all have and who they all are.
And can you tell us a little more about the Cool Block program and lead us into what you're working on with AI assisted technologies?
Yeah. So Cool Block is a program that has been around for about 12 years. We specialize in neighborhood getting together. Literally, you pick a team of people, you knock on all your neighbors' doors and say, come to these meetings, and have 8 meetings together that lead you through climate action, but also emergency planning and resiliency together. And it takes you through these kind of questions of who has generators and all that kind of stuff, but helps you know your neighbors. And that is a free resource now. You can go to coolblock.org and anyone can just download the resources for how to have a team, how to have just the whole sheet of how to get my family prepped, how to get my neighbors together. But yeah, I am very passionate about technology and AI. AI has come leaps and bounds in the last year, and right now we're working on building agents that are helping to interconnect us with farms here in the local region, and making a local regenerative food hub from here, where we're connecting to every farm that is organic and regeneratively growing food, having supply chain knowledge of what food is there and available, and then setting up hubs that is actually all coordinated by AI, helping to contact the farms, helping be in contact with the people who need the food or want to buy food or want to eat meals here, with also emergency planning built in there as well too. So the way that AI is helping us do that in efficient ways without having to hire a bunch of people to do it is quite amazing. I mean, blowing my mind, kind of amazing how much of a leap it's helping us have. Before, it was scary to think about taking care of 1,000 people in your community, much less 5,000, 10,000 or more. But AI isn't scared of that, and just works all the time, doesn't have to sleep, and is literally helping us to build this and do this. So I'm one of those people that is not scared of AI in our future. We're working with what we call a caring AI that is helping you program it to care, and it does care. And I'm not worried about that one going wrong.
That's so absolutely wonderful. And I'm hoping a little later you might tell us a little bit about how the Riverside is preparing meals for families and so forth. Before going in that direction, I want to mention Henry and I were talking last night about AI, and it's becoming increasingly clear to me that this term AI is almost bordering on useless, because we're using it to name and describe so many different technologies and applications of technologies. And so anyway, that's maybe a discussion for another time, but clearly there are a variety of emerging versions of artificial intelligence that are incredibly potent and contributing in beautiful ways to community resilience, sustainability, regeneration, etc. So anyway, we'll hold that conversation for another time. And I did want to mention that all three of you have shared some of your resources and projects and programs. And so I want to be sure to say that with respect to Miranda, the many that you mentioned, folks can go to your website, which is regenren.com, regenren.com, and you've got links into all those projects from there. We'll include all the URLs in the show notes, of course. And Henry, you've got beworldaware.com. Folks can go there to connect with you and your resources. And Dawn, of course, evolutionarychange.org is one of the ways people can connect with you, as well as transitionnetwork.org. Is that correct?
Yep.
Wonderful, wonderful. Henry, I wanted to ask you something. Miranda's mention of Katrina made me think of this. You've shared with me your personal career trajectory really took a big turn a number of years ago after the earthquakes in Haiti. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. In 2010.
Could you tell us a little about that and what that did for you in your life?
Yeah, certainly. So, 2009. Myself and my partner at the time, a great woman I was dating, felt like we wanted to go on a vacation or a trip, but the next one we wanted to actually go on to actually help people, you know. So her mother was French, and she had connection with this group who did dental work down in Haiti, and they needed French speakers, right? So in 2009, we were like, all right, we're going to do it. At that time, I was, this is kind of an inside joke, but I was, like a pretty dedicated prepper, and now I call myself a reformed prepper, right? So, I was all for it, and, we're going to go help people and, kind of do a dental mission down there. So we bought our tickets. We're starting to get packed. We had to bring one, huge duffel bag full of stuff. And then the earthquake hit after we bought our tickets, right? And we called the group that we were going with, the dental group, and we were like, so this huge earthquake just devastated Haiti. And they were like, yep, but we're still going. And so we were like, okay, I guess we're still going. And so I think the earthquake hit in January, and our trip was planned for April. And so we just went on down there, and I saw a number of things that just changed my life. We generally know that there's extreme levels of poverty out there, people who, don't have a lot of food, resources, whatever have you, but for me, it wasn't really real until I actually saw it face to face. So down there, I saw, trash piled, higher than the dump truck that we were driving through Port-au-Prince in. I saw, children, unfortunately, drinking out of, muddy puddles in the street. But also I saw a number of things that were quite inspiring. I saw children with very clean, fresh pressed uniforms with backpacks full of books, heading to school, weaving their way through the tent cities, weaving their way through the devastation in the middle of Port-au-Prince post-earthquake. I saw families helping out each other. I saw lots of NGOs down there doing really good work. And through all that, and then through the actual dental work that we were trained to do when we got down there, helping out with people's health, actually saving some lives and whatnot, I just got really inspired, and I was like, how do I work with one of these organizations? So when I got back home, I looked up, how do I work with Médecins Sans Frontières or Doctors Without Borders, Oxfam, at the time USAID was still operational, and all the folks, all those organizations wanted people who were hard medicine, so like doctors or nurses. But if you weren't hard medicine, they also wanted people with experience in disaster planning. And I was like, I didn't know that was a thing. And it excited me because I was already a bit of a prepper. And I was like, okay, let's go. I can do this for a living. So I was living in St. Louis at the time. That's where I'm from. And I started looking up grad programs in emergency preparedness. And I actually found a graduate program at St. Louis University in disaster preparedness and biosecurity. And so I signed up for that, and I think after the first 2 weeks, I contacted my advisor, and I was like, this is the coolest program I've ever been in. I want to go beyond the master's certificate, because I was just going to get the master's certificate. I was like, I want to do the full program. And so from there, I just dove headfirst into it. And 3 years later, finished with my master's in disaster preparedness and biosecurity. And therefore, that's why I'm the master of disaster here. But yeah, it's just very interesting how just these experiences in life can really change your trajectory and put you on a new path. And that was a very, very impactful moment in my life, and it put me on the path where I am today. And actually, that's why I'm here in Colorado. So yeah, that's a bit of my preparedness journey there.
Thank you, Henry. Yeah, shout out to St. Louis University, SLU. My daughter Osha's alma mater as well, and so many of our dear friends over there, Father Phil Steele and others. Yeah, absolutely wonderful, and thank you for sharing that with us. And not only have you done disaster preparedness work at the state level and here in the Colorado Front Range, where most of the population of the state is, you've also done this in more rural parts of the Rocky Mountain West, namely in and around Telluride, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So San Miguel County. So I was the emergency manager for San Miguel County. The county seat is Telluride, so many people may be familiar with that town. But I got a lot of really good experience out there because the folks who are out on the western slope, as we call it here in Colorado, in those frontier areas, very dedicated government workers, very dedicated folks who are dedicated to service. And when you're out there, a lot of folks have to wear multiple hats. And so, I learned to wear multiple hats. I responded to multiple wildfires, to extreme landslides, extreme avalanches out in Lake City and Hinsdale County area. Of course, as part of the Unified Command during 2020 and the COVID response, pandemic response. Lots of other things. Got involved in search and rescue, learned about rural and agricultural emergency management, why it's important to have a plan to evacuate your large animals, if you have livestock and whatnot. And also down there is where I really started to hone my community preparedness philosophy, because working with all the awesome public servants out there, as well as meeting all of the really, really great community members out there who are close-knit and who support each other and who know, the next person who lives down the road. Because often your neighbors may be far away, but, you get to know your neighbors and you get to know, what they're capable of, what their capacity is, how they can help you out, how you can help them out, what their needs might be. I really learned a lot down there from some really amazing people. And I think, that time in the rural area really helped, as I said, my preparedness philosophy, and it gave me a lot of great experience, working with the amazing Sheriff Bill Masters down there. I learned a lot from him. So that was a really, really important time in my life, professionally and personally, and I grew a lot down there. So, yeah, it was good.
Cool, thank you, Henry. And speaking of livestock in the more rural settings, a shout out to all of the contributors in this book, Our Biggest Deal, including the three of you, and of course, including our friend and colleague Hunter Lovins, who is probably best known for her work with natural capitalism, her work at the global level, United Nations, COP now, etc. And one of the things I really love and admire about Hunter is she is a masterful equestrian and is part of the first responders horse-mounted team right here in this region. And so, you know, our friends in the Boulder County Sheriff's Office, the first responders, the fire responders are all connected with Hunter and the other equestrians. If something's going down in the mountains where the vehicles can't as easily access, they're off on the horses.
Get on the horse, yeah.
And so this is such an interesting tapestry of tools and skills and functions and community leaders doing all kinds of different things. And speaking of books, Dawn, I wanted to get to your book, The Regeneration Handbook, which is described as Leadership for the Great Transition, a change maker's toolkit for cultivating personal and community resilience. And I was hoping you could tell us a little bit about what is this great transition. What are the 5 stages of transition? How does that relate to preparedness and resilience? And I'm hoping you'll paint the picture for how extensive this network and work is already worldwide.
Yeah, so the Great Transition is a term we use to describe this transition from industrial growth society, as Joanna Macy, the great eco-psychologist, put it, to a life-sustaining society. For the first time in human history, we've run up against the natural limits of this planet, and we need to consciously design a new way of living that's going to work for 8 billion people. So this is a great challenge that, even if it's not going to happen tomorrow or the day after that, that we need to really start working on now. And that there's really great opportunity that in this time where old certainties are breaking apart, where we're facing new risks, that it's really calling us to a greater sense of responsibility for our places, for our world, a greater degree of interconnection with the people around us, and to bring out our kind of higher selves to create a world that is not only sustainable, but is thriving and that we can really be proud of. So the 5 stages of transition, which you mentioned, are one way that we talk about how to do this in a particular community. So starting out with maybe no resources, no organizational structure, no track record, no following, but just an idea that we want to help to facilitate this transition in our community so that our community can be a beacon of hope for other communities. This usually starts with one person who's kind of struck by lightning, that they tap into this great passion for this kind of work. They become a kind of unstoppable force, and they're gathering together what we call an initiating group to help get this movement off the ground. And from there, starting to educate the community, getting on the same page, but also taking in a lot of feedback about what are the greatest challenges that our community is facing, what are some of the biggest opportunities that we have for change right now, what are the skills people are bringing, and what are people most interested in working on. And that could be regenerative food systems. That could be strengthening our local economies, could be transitioning off of fossil fuels, zero waste campaigns, so much more. And then starting to put in place practical projects that actually show that these ideas can work in practice, that they can put money in people's pockets, that they can put food on people's tables and roofs over their heads in a more sustainable and equitable way than is happening now. And from there, then we're able to bring in more support, because we've shown that what we do isn't just some kind of wishful thinking. We're not just sitting around and talking about it, but we're actually doing it. We're actually having a positive impact in our community, and bringing in more folks from the business community, from local government, from media and funders and so forth. And weaving them all together into a larger movement for change, and scaling up bigger and bigger kind of systems changing strategies over time. And so this is a model that about 1,000 different communities in 70 countries around the world are working with, and really came out of the movement itself about how does this naturally, organically unfold in a local community? How can you grow a movement that's big enough to really change things? Not just a little in some places, but to change whole communities, and then to inspire others in different places to do the same.
Mm. It's so inspiring and exciting. And you know, one of my favorite quotes out of your book speaks to the power of just a few of us taking steps, and how that helps ripple and amplify the inspiration and encouragement to so many others over time. And you say, we can't simply tune out our world telling ourselves that someone else will handle it. If we excuse ourselves from taking action because others aren't acting either, nobody will step up, and our world will gradually become smaller and more dangerous. However, if we find the courage to lean into this great transition, our bravery will inspire others to do the same. I love that.
That's the idea.
I love that. I love that.
Courage is contagious.
Yeah. Courage is contagious. Courage. I'm writing that down for the show notes.
Feel free to steal it.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll attribute it. So, Miranda, I heard Dawn mention regenerative food systems, and I wanted to come back to you and ask about what you all are doing right here at the Riverside as one of the important community hubs in the Boulder region, and how you're networking out with so many regenerative farms in the area. I was hoping you could share with us a bit about how you're supporting families with healthy scratch-made food, and also how you're thinking about weaving the connections and relationships to help further support these small regenerative farms. And maybe if you can throw in a little bit about food forests, one of my very favorite topics in the world, that would be awesome.
Yeah. Well, I mentioned a little bit about how we're having AI try to help us with that as well, and literally building agents to do it. But the whole working in disaster preparedness, helping with families, helping with regenerative community development, food comes up as one of the major factors that you're looking at. I mean, just when food stamps got cut off, 74,000 children in Colorado alone lost their food stamps for that time period, and that is likely to happen again in January. And I mean, just for us, everything here is about family. This is the type of place that you bring your kids and dogs to work when there's not private events going on. So we just care deeply. And one of the things, food being right at that place where we can affect a lot of impact and change in individuals' lives, in families' lives, in our own health and wellness, if we're eating organic food that is non-toxic and healthy for us, and it's not having to be transported very far, and we're supporting regenerative farms and organic farms that are out there right now, which is not enough to feed the whole community of Boulder, even if we were to get everybody connected to all of them right now. So we need bigger food efforts, more people growing their own food, and it is one of the biggest ways to become emergency prepared and resilient, growing food in your own yard, knowing what a permaculture food forest is, and that you can grow one in your backyard, actually. We planted our first ones at 2 different intentional communities I lived at in Arizona and at Sunrise Ranch, watching Jeff Lawton's instructional videos on how to build swales and how to only have to water your food forest twice a year if you build in the soil, hugelkultur and all of that. And literally we were like out there in the field with YouTube videos on iPads saying, okay, dig a hole 4 feet deep, and just community doing this. But now making those resources available for anybody, what you're doing is incredible with the Aaron's taking all of his podcasts and regenerative knowledge from all of the podcasts that he's done previously and putting them into a tech data dashboard that is really amazing, that I got to see for the first time last week. But where you can go and say, how do I, who's talking about permaculture, food forest? How do we grow food in way more poundage and with very little care? Like a food forest is nitrogen fixing itself, it's feeding itself through the soil, and you put all these layers of branches and sawdust and everything under the ground, so it's literally holding water for 6 months at a time. So you can have a big monsoon flood come in, or just really heavy rains, and then not have to come back and water it after about year 3, once the trees get their roots down. Combining it with aquaponics, where you're having tilapia, catfish, trout in Colorado, and you can empty your pond into your food forest to water it, and it's got all that fish poo and fertilizer, and then you're having hundreds and hundreds or thousands of pounds come out of your food forest of food every single year to feed you and your neighborhood, and then all the fish as well. So in an emergency, imagine if everybody had all the food growing in their yards, and even if our food supply gets shut down, we're all already growing food. So we kind of have to be ahead of that game to hit that, as you were talking about, like economic collapse and actually being scared about that. I've never seen so many people scared about that as they are right now. But this is one of the ways that we're seeing community efforts of food growing, food distribution, having hubs where you can come and grow your own food. One of our chefs here is having kids come after school and make 5 to 10 meals with the farm food with other kids and with the chefs to bring back home for their family, just boxed up so that the moms aren't having such a stressful time with feeding organic local food. The kids have come here and made it with chefs and brought home the food for the week, and they're all being fed well. So that's one of our programs that's getting up and going. But yeah, the more we can do this as a community effort, we're taking care of so many levels of impact and so many levels of community resilience and emergency preparedness by focusing a lot on food and regenerating the soil and being prepped, growing food right here. Not depending on supply chains that have to come from outside, which are the first things to get shut off in a big emergency.
Are brittle. Yeah. Absolutely wonderful. Thank you, Miranda. And one of the things I've marveled at for some time now is that many of our neighborhoods, many of our suburban developments, right? We've been talking a bit about the rural and the urban linkages. Obviously, we're right in downtown. People watching the video can see the cars and buses and trucks driving by behind us. And we're also talking about many of the rural outlying farms, and there's this in-between development pattern of neighborhoods and suburbs that are often sort of ideal in the way of infrastructure to get these permaculture food forests going, with sprinklers and irrigation to get things established in those first few years. And so there's so much that can be done in these different contexts and development patterns. I'm really excited about it, and I hope that we in this community and many other communities can really amplify and accelerate building upon the work that's already being done and has already been done by so many wonderful folks. So we're gonna talk a little about go bags and prep kits and gear, and we gotta. But before getting to that, I want to thank some of our sponsors and supporters, and of course give a huge shout out to Miranda, you and Richard Mosier here at the Riverside Boulder for hosting us for this live audience podcast and being so supportive of all our work and of course our new book, Our Biggest Deal. And I want to thank additionally, let me mention that with the Riverside Boulder, they are generously offering a 20% discount to anybody in our Y on Earth community ecosystem for facility rental fees. So whether it's a wedding you've got coming up in your family or a corporate retreat or some kind of conference or workshop gathering, and we've been hearing something about Sundance Film Festival coming to Boulder, so there's going to be some really cool events coming up here. Riverside is ideally located where Broadway crosses Boulder Creek, right here in downtown Boulder. So be sure to take advantage of that incredible generosity, and thanks to Miranda and Richard and everybody, Diani and everybody for that. Gonna give a shout out to Anco Hospitality, Bluestone Life Insurance, the Brad and Lindsay Lidge Foundation, Clean Copy, Climate First Bank, Dobrosfera Kind Media, Earth Coast Productions, Gaia AI, which is what Miranda was referring to with this really wonderful guide tool for the podcast and book content, Good Stead Financial, Hush Blackwell, Launch Legal, Patagonia's Home Planet Fund, Regenerative World Quest, the Riverside Boulder, of course, this is in alphabetical order, Soundlight Foundation, Transition Network International, Verona Rylander Philanthropies, and Waylay Waters, our cottage enterprise, biodynamically grown hemp-infused aromatherapy soaking salts. For folks who join our Y on Earth monthly giving program, if you give it the $33 or greater level per month, as a thank you, we'll send you 1 or 3 or 5 jars of our Waylay Water soaking salts each month. So be sure to check that out if you're interested. And of course, we want to encourage folks to join our ambassador network as another way to connect in with so many experts and opportunities to mobilize and support. We do a monthly Zoom meetup the first Sunday of each month at 11 in the morning Colorado time. So lots of wonderful ways to connect, and just a huge thank you and shout out to all of our friends and sponsors and supporters who make not only our Y on Earth community podcast series possible, but also help to make our newest book, Our Biggest Deal, possible. So with that in mind, and all these wonderful pieces of method and strategy and opportunity that the three of you have been speaking to, I want to be sure to just ask the most open general question I can. Is there anything that is front of mind that you think folks should know about when we're talking about community resilience and disaster preparedness that we haven't already hit upon? And of course, we'll get to kits and gear and some recommendations that you all may have around things people might keep on hand in their homes and or vehicles or while traveling. And we have a special surprise for you. We have a number of very special guests in the audience, one of whom is going to join us and share her essential go bag in just a few minutes. So open-ended, jump right in.
Yeah, sure. So I mentioned a preparedness philosophy, right? I do think we should consider our preparedness in terms of a philosophy. And what that means for me is not necessarily just the stuff. The stuff is important, but not just the stuff, but also building knowledge and skill sets. And I'll tie that into a philosophy here in a moment. But by knowledge and skill sets, I mean things like understanding food preparation, understanding food preservation, understanding how to pickle things, understanding, the science of fermentation. All of those are extremely useful skills, but they can also just be a part of your life. Like fermentation is actually like fun and quite healthy for you. It improves gut health. It's been around for as long as I think we've been processing food, right? But these are the types of things that you can actually weave into your lifestyle that can make a difference and, can be a hobby. So when I first started on my preparedness journey, I was working in restaurants and looking at the chefs and whatnot, preparing their food, and I was like, okay, well, how can I flip this into a preparedness thing? So then I looked up things like pressure canning. And after a while, I kind of became known as the guy who knew about canning and pickling. And, I was doing culinary experiments with pressure canning and pickling. But unbeknownst to most folks out there, that was part of my preparedness. And so so I had every other Sunday I would have a little pickling party, and sometimes I have friends over, and we would, make pickles and, go to the farmer's market, get what we can from the farmer's market, and then preserve it. And of course it'd be good to take home because it's delicious, but also the stuff has a very long shelf life. So you can weave these things into your lifestyle in a way that's not obtrusive, right? And have it just be part of your preparedness philosophy. And I do feel like doing things like that, learning how to cure meat if you cook, if you consume meat, gardening, that can not only be a passion, but as Miranda was saying, it could be part of your preparedness repertoire. So that's one of the big things that I really like is it's not only just collecting the stuff and having the gear, but it's also the knowledge that you have, because that can carry you on for years and years and years and just be part of your lifestyle and just be a hobby as well.
Love that. I'm hoping we can do some pickling parties here at some point.
Yeah.
We do them already.
Oh, you
Yes.
do them already?
Come, please.
I want to participate.
Yeah, that's what I would say more than anything is participate. I mean, we're in a loneliness epidemic. People feel really separated from each other, but this is a great area to get to know people and lean in. Not only then do you feel you're more prepared, you know what's going on in community. You could learn how to cure meat or do a pickling party together, join shared meals, but also join the conversations about resiliency and preparedness, any of them that you can find. It's a lot of fun. It can be a lot of fun to do these trainings and simulations of a disaster, get to know your neighbors, or to be the one to engage your neighborhood, which can make all the difference in the world, as I'm talking about. But it takes some courage, as you were writing down, courage to get out there and either join the classes, join the groups, join the response teams, or lead them. Leading as easy as I'm going to go knock on my neighbor's doors and let's do one of these programs, and let's follow the little thing and how do we make our go bag and how do we each do this together, because it's really fun to do together. Then you know your neighbors and going through questionnaires of who has generators, who has all of this. And I mean, the more we know who's out there and the more connected we are, actually being able to do things like unified coordination systems of neighborhoods in disasters can happen more. But there has to be mass numbers of us engaged and on lists, on call lists, and on emergency backup lists. And if a disaster happens, do not be afraid. If you're able-bodied, go ask if you can help. I mean, in an emergency, especially in rural areas, sometimes in bigger cities like this, it can get kind of crazy if everybody's trying to lean in, but lean in where you're at. Knock on doors and say, are you okay? Are you okay? Is everybody okay? And even being able to report to emergency personnel. I've knocked on every door. Nobody's having an emergency. They're all in their houses. No one's missing. They'll be like, thank you. Now we don't have to do that.
Absolutely.
And in a rural area, even if you just show up to emergency personnel and say, what can I do? They'll know what to do. They're not usually going to say, go away. They're going to say, be the one to knock on doors. Make sure there's not horses needing evacuated or dogs gotten out of a house because a fire is coming down the street, or you never know what it is that they know they need, and they need more hands, more help. So just show up if you can. I mean, that's the biggest thing you need in most situations is more hands, more heads in the game, more people willing to dive in and help. Make sure you have yourself prepped, and then be willing to care about your neighbors and show up if needed.
Wonderful.
Yeah, and I'll just continue to build on the theme of showing up. I think we live in a very much of a spectator culture. That the institutions of our culture are so big and so complex, so kind of monolithic, that it can feel very intimidating to try to get involved, to try to make a real difference. I think a lot of people out there, don't believe that that's possible. But the local level is really a place where you can have some leverage, where you can create new systems, experiment with different ways of living. And I think ultimately, in a environment where the risks, the threats are so complex, and we don't know exactly what the impacts will be and when they will come, strengthening those community bonds, those community muscles, learning how to do things together again, instead of just relying on everything to come to us, is one of the most important things that we can do. I think that if we know each other, if we love each other, if we are experienced in working together, there's not anything that we can't handle. But if we don't have that, if we're all isolated in our little bubbles, that presents a great risk in itself. Joanna Macy, who I mentioned earlier, she said, the reason I do the work that I do is so that when times get tough, people don't turn against each other. And I think that's really the key point, is that when times get tough, we need to turn towards each other, and we need to do the work now to ensure that that is what's going to happen.
Hear, hear. Beautifully said. Thank you, all three of you. So, before we bring up our special surprise guest, Brigitte Mars, who's been on our podcast a few times, I gotta go popcorn. Top 2, 3 favorite things in the go bag, prep kit, items, recommendations.
Life straw.
Life straw. What does that do?
So it is a water purification device. They come in many different shapes and sizes. When I travel, whether it's domestically or internationally, I always throw a life straw in my backpack, just in case something happens and I need to get some fresh water, because you can't do anything without water. So yeah, I always have one in my backpack. I have some sort of water purification in my car, and of course at home I have a number of different options. But a life straw is like light and cheap. It's like, the one I have is like a little tube. It's actually a Life Straw brand, but there are a number of other brands. It's a little tube and it just slips in your backpack.
What's one of those other favorite things you keep in your backpack when you're traveling? Because I know you've told me about this before.
I am a firm believer that your mental health part of your mental health is important during disasters, and of course every day. Part of your mental health is like dignity and hygiene and staying clean, and therefore I always have these. The brand is called Dude Wipes, but they're hygienic wipes that you can actually flush, but they can be used for cleaning yourself if need be. And I have those in my backpack when I travel. I have them in my car. I have them at work. Just like making sure you're comfortable if you don't have the resources that are normally available to us, like plumbing and toilets. Like, that's just the reality,
Great.
Yeah.
Fabulous. Thank you.
Really cool sharp objects.
Sharp objects. All right.
So knives, axes, things that you're going to need sharp objects for. I personally love mine that are in my go bag. It's like an excuse to buy them. And in our apocalypse-proof class, the cool block is like pretty generic, but apocalypse-proof, we put together that course with a lot of like ex-military and search and rescue guys and fire department, and we were like, let's make this as cool and as extreme as we can in some of the parts of it. So it starts with, if you just want to be prepared for 24 hours and food and water, here's the amounts and here's what to do. Here's what a regular go bag is, to have your set of clothes and your maxi pads and a knife and just fire starter things, basic things. But we went all the way as far as like, what happens if you're 4 months and you're really in a disaster with power has gone down and you're needing to actually organize teams and you're going to have flares and all kinds of other things. Like, what if everybody runs out of gas after 2 weeks and you can't travel anymore? What do situations start to look like then? So we've got all of that in there. It's like super fun that you can, even how do you order these things on Amazon and be ultra prepped, gas masks and all kinds of emergency prep. So if you want to learn from some of the best resources we've ever found in the world and collected them into there on how to really prep your whole neighborhood or your household in prepper land for real. And I mean, my dream is to have like a community badass group that we know, like all the fire department and the search and rescue and the ex-military that actually live right here, and like we can call on all of them in bigger emergencies. But we got to map that out. We have to have that coordinated, and it's possible.
Crew.
We should talk about that, because I know Henry and I are connected to some of those folks also, so do a little more weaving there would be fun.
Well, I'm the type of person that's like the struck by lightning one that just wants to like do it all.
Fabulous. Thank you. Dawn?
Good multi-tool, some dried food, some warm clothing, and I love the walkie-talkie idea. Pass those out to the crew, and you can stay connected even if the cell phone towers go down.
Yeah.
Absolutely. One of the things I love learning over the years, doing a lot of hiking and backpacking, is that, especially in places where it can get cold, having clothing on hand that is not cotton, wool, other materials that will still keep you warm if wet, if cold and wet. So that was, so it's interesting. I was over at REI a couple years ago looking for cotton socks. I said, we don't sell cotton socks because we're equipping people to be in the backcountry, and cotton socks are not appropriate in the backcountry. And I thought, that's interesting. That's notable.
Indeed.
Well, this has been so much fun, and I think really informative and inspiring. And I want to invite our special surprise guest, Brigitte Mars, on up here. Brigitte.
Thank you so much.
So Brigitte, by the time this episode will publish, you will have been on at least 3 other of our podcast episodes, talking a lot about holistic healing and herbal medicine, and you've written how many books now? 18 books on herbal
And learn to
medicine.
eat the weeds.
Yeah, foraging.
There's free food out there.
Yeah.
Your yard could, stop growing grass. And keep the weeds, the dandelions. Okay, so
So-
I so appreciate everything that has been said. Thank you. You inspire us. So, of course, I have the bug out bag, the big heavy backpack with all the things in it. But this is what I call like a Jedi survival bag, like something that you have because you're going to a festival and or a party or the mall or Halloween or you never know. So get a pretty bag, and when you're thinking about giving holiday gifts, why not make a little bag of useful stuff? That's what all my family got last year, and you can buy like a dozen pretty bags. So again, so a little bag, and what do we have in there? We have a space blanket.
Yep.
A bandana could be a Band-Aid, a scarf, a napkin, tissue, menstrual cloth, tourniquet, so many things. A safety pin on there is good. Learn how to mend things, to learn how to sew. And sporks, we really don't want to be using those disposable plastic things, so metal one's better, but plastic spork is what I have. Set of earplugs would be helpful. A pen so you can let your parent or your family know where you went. I love being clean, so some kind of moist towelettes is great. A deodorant. You want to feel fresh. It's so good for your self-esteem. If you were to own 3 essential oils, I would say lavender, peppermint, and tea tree. Lavender is really good for burns. It can also be used to calm anxiety if you're freaking out. Lavender is also antimicrobial to put on any type of fungal infection. And tea tree oil is like a first aid kit in a bottle. Put a few drops in water to gargle with it. Could be used on a bump, a boil, a bug bite, to keep bugs away, to repel head lice. Like so many things you could do with that. Put it in the bathtub. Moisturizer is always good. Okay, we want to feel fresh, so toothbrush, toothpaste, dental floss. I'm big on yellow highlighters. I have a little thing of coconut oil in here, and I keep it in here so it doesn't leak. But coconut oil is your one-stop beauty shop. You could use it on your lips. You could use it as a moisturizer. You could use it as a sex lubricant for those special occasions. You could use it for like sunburn, okay? Conditioner. Band-Aids are always handy. One of these little magnifying glasses, you can buy a dozen of them. They can be used to start a fire, light a pipe, you never know, signal, SOS. And of course, learning things. Yeah, look, take a first aid class. Homeopathic arnica, I'm going to say, don't leave home without it. It's good for inflammation, emergency crises. And then anytime, I was so mad at my kids, they went and got tattooed, and they said, but we took homeopathic arnica, like, okay, all right. But and rescue remedy, this is for your emotional well-being. It is really a real blessing. 2 drops under your tongue will calm the most stressful situations. Okay, hair tie, I usually have the liquid Dr. Bronner's peppermint soap. There's like 1,000 uses of this. Wash the clothes, wash the baby, wash the diapers, wash the dishes, wash your hair, brush your teeth. So many things. And, we want to feel fresh. A lighter's good to have. And, keep learning about first aid. Hell, you might want some wick, some people know what that is. Wick. And I have more homeopathic arnica. And I think, a lighter, you get the idea. Be prepared, because when stuff happens, if you have the right stuff, you can give assistance to someone else. So thank you so much.
Awesome.
Thank
you,
you.
Brigitte. So wonderful. Well, thank you, everybody. Dawn, Brigitte, Miranda, Henry. This has been absolutely fabulous. So much fun. And we'll we'll sign off for the podcast recording, and we will open up for Q&A with our audience. Thank you, audience, for joining us this evening. It makes it really fun and dynamic for us up here. And of course, often when we do our podcast interviews, we do a shorter behind-the-scenes segment that we share with our ambassador network. And this evening, we'll have a Q&A with our friends here at the Riverside in Boulder with us. That will go to the ambassador resources, which you can access with a code when you get activated as an ambassador. And so want to encourage everyone out there in the audience, if you'd like to access these additional materials, to go to the whyonearth.org website and find the page Become an Ambassador and begin your journey that way and get access to these additional resources. So with that said, we'll open up to some Q&A. And again, thank you everybody. Any questions, comments out there? Don't be shy. Yes.
I have a question for Henry. I was very disappointed after the situation in Haiti, because you look at the amount of nonprofits that were down there and the amount of money that they collected. I mean, the American Red Cross collected $500 million and 8 houses were built. So I'd like to know in the aftermath of that, because obviously you were down there and experienced that. Do you feel that the NGOs of the world and the nonprofits, how do you feel that they're effective enough, or do you feel that they're hindering actual progress that y'all are trying to build with community?
Absolutely. So I forgot the exact number, but when I got to Haiti, it was explained to me that there were X amount of NGOs down there, whether it be 84 or 150. Overall, I do think that the NGOs are doing great work. I do not believe that they are a hindrance. The situation in Haiti is just beyond belief in terms of complexity. Even at that time, 15 years ago, there was a complete and total lack of just even existing infrastructure, complete and total lack of refuse services, and a support system and government organization system that was lacking in many areas, but did have people that were passionate and cared. And so I think that we have to take the lessons of Haiti and look at, if we are committing resources to enact upon a disaster, there needs to be a overarching level of organization that can help to, number one, understand the need, understand specific locations for the need, and then be able to not run logistics for each NGO, but help logistically to ensure that folks are getting where resources are getting where they're actually needed. One of the issues with that many NGOs on the ground in that country, but specifically in Port-au-Prince, with the lack of infrastructure for so many years, was there was a lot of resources, but they weren't able to get them places. And that was due to issues maybe at the government level as well. So, we talk a lot with our stateside NGOs about this concept of do not self-deploy. And I think that is the reason why. Totally separate situations, right? But if you have a number of different groups who have resources and they want to give, but they maybe don't have awareness of where the actual need is and how much to turn the spigot, then you're going to experience a lot of disorganization and expenditure of resources in places maybe where they shouldn't be. Like I remember seeing a parking lot full of tractors and backloaders that were just collecting dust when I was down in Haiti. And, they were provided by whatever NGO they were, but they just didn't know where to go or weren't told where to go or couldn't get gasoline. Maybe they had enough gas to run for 1 week, but they had to bring them back to the parking lot because they couldn't get gas. It's more than just sending resources to a place. It's actually forming an organizational structure to utilize the resources in the wisest way. And so that's definitely one thing I learned from Haiti. Yeah.
Another question? Comment?
Good, sir.
Yes?
We talked about getting a CERT program here. How far along is that possibility?
Manpower. I mean, we're actively talking to the city right now, and there's grant money available for some of the resources. We're going to start doing it as much as we can without having that first, because a lot of that has been cut. So we'll just be going along, making progress. We have a group meeting every other Monday here right now, Monday evenings, and if anybody wants to join us and join the efforts, it is a community-led thing, so it's literally community citizens that care, and all of us learning. You don't have to be a professional of anything to join, and we're literally learning about communication, coordination systems, like you say, collecting big lists of who's out there, what are their needs in case of an emergency, and then getting some emergency training, knowing which people can be in charge of contact in their neighborhoods, in charge of helping with food distribution, in charge of helping with elders if the elder care groups need more help. So that's what we'll be doing. So yeah, contact us if you are interested. Join our Monday night groups, and we'll be moving along. 6.
Is it like the first and third or second and fourth?
Every other, so it's this coming Monday. So second and fourth.
Second
Yeah,
and fourth.
yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, and Caressa, who just asked the question, is certified in the Los Angeles area. You did that, right?
Yeah. Come join us.
Can you tell us in a nutshell, like what was that like, and how were you equipped through that process?
Well, a lot of what each of you spoke to, knowing who has what in the community, knowing who has what needs. We had a community storage area with all of our main gear. We each had our individual gear, who has what gear, and just coming together as a community also did bring us together to meet each other, and that was a lot of fun. So it was very bonding, and then also to feel like you're doing something to be prepared and you're going to be strong through whatever occurs, because in California we had tsunamis and earthquakes and fires and you name it. We were cross-trained for everything in that program, and that's what I love about CERT in particular, but just as you were talking about with funding and everything, I'm glad to hear a few things that they're like, we got that, we do that.
No, we. Like, I might be a lightning bolt of wanting to do lots of things, but it takes a lot of we's.
CERT's very empowering for sure.
It was a fun program. It was fun.
Maybe one or two other questions or comments before we wrap up.
I have a comment, another one that I didn't mention yet, but well, just mental health and kids, and our mental health, all of us, anyone that is struggling even with anxiety about the economy or afraid of collapses of anything or prepping or whatever, taking care of our mental health is one of the biggest things that we can do to prep now and know a lot of those tools. Here we teach EFT tapping, emotional freedom technique, which can help let down anxiety and help people go through really tough conversations and even really tough traumatic events. They've shown like kids that learn tapping, but then have an emergency drill at school or literally a fire or something there. One kid will teach a whole rest of a class, let's just tap and it's okay. And they'll literally walk out of the school all calm and help calm down all of the other kids. Whereas every other class, the kids are screaming, crying, and just horrible anxiety and don't even know what to do, and the teachers don't know how to handle that much anxiety. So taking care of our mental health and knowing that there are tools, and if you are a mental health practitioner, helping in an emergency to literally help calm people down and help people breathe and be in a calm space can go a long ways. And even not sitting with anxiety that is bothering you even right now, to where that's built up in your nervous system, and doing breath work, sound baths, tapping, to have a regulated nervous system.
Jitsu, yeah.
Yeah.
Not
So-
emergency, thanks for that.
Yep. I mean, a lot of people say they feel like we live in a everyday crisis and chaos right now, that just watching the news. So taking care of our mental health and our self-care is a really, really big thing. And the kiddos too.
Yep, thank you for that. One more? Yeah, yay.
This is Ray. Are you still doing knitting, or are you still doing classes?
So I'm doing more fermenting now.
Yeah.
So fermentation. So not moved away from, but my culinary focuses on fermentation, and
Are you offering local classes, or are you?
we can do a local class.
Yes,
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, we can set up a local class. I think an easy, like a good, approachable step is just simple, either kimchi or kraut. So
Yeah,
just
yeah.
cabbage and salt.
Yeah,
Keep it simple.
yeah.
Cabbage and salt, and massage it, and set and forget. So yeah, we can do some local fermentation for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Henry and Miranda and I have been talking about doing some of this perhaps here in the coming months, and I shared that a few years back the Y on Earth community went into some high schools and middle schools way down in southern Colorado in the Conejos area doing these fermented cabbage workshops, and I'm amazed they let us bring in all these sharp knives, but the kids did a great job, and it was so much fun,
Trust kids.
So it was good.
Yeah.
It was really good. So I think we have a bunch of cutting boards and knives we can bring to the party too. So.
Yay.
Well, you guys have
We have
all-
lots
all
here
that.
too,
Yeah, you need to bring more probably.
But yeah,
Wonderful.
doing things as a group activity that's the most awesome way.
Yeah, and one thing we didn't mention yet, I guess it relates to the food forest piece, is seed exchanging. And we're talking with several hubs throughout the region to create some more regional interconnectivity. Down in the San Luis Valley at Joyful Journey, they've been hosting a fabulous, very well attended seed exchange for years. Brigitte's been there, Caressa and I have been there. Farmers are coming in from all around Colorado and New Mexico. Lots of heirloom varieties, lots of high altitude, arid climate adjusted varieties. And so we have friends up in Lyons now as well with the Lyons Community Farm Project and Food Forest Project. They just got some funding with the Lyons Library to do a seed library at the book library. And so we're thinking about weaving with them a bit and scheduling this spring a staggered set of seed exchanges so that many of us can go down to Joyful Journey, Crestone, San Luis Valley, and also to Lyons, and also hopefully here in Boulder, maybe at the Riverside, and just do more of that genetic seed banking and arcing as well.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Maybe that'd be a fun thing to weave you into too, Don.
Maybe.
Any other questions, comments?
Thank you.
Thank you.
So much.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you. It was fun.
The Y on Earth Community Stewardship and Sustainability podcast series is hosted by Aaron William Perry, author, thought leader, and executive consultant. The podcast and video recordings are made possible by the generous support of people like you. To sign up as a daily, weekly, or monthly supporter, please visit yonearth.org/support. Support packages start at just $1 per month. The podcast series is also sponsored by several corporate and organization sponsors. You can get discounts on their products and services using the code YONEARTH, all one word with a Y. These sponsors are listed on the yonearth.org/support page. If you found this particular podcast episode especially insightful, informative, or inspiring, please pass it on and share it with a friend whom you think will also enjoy it. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for your support. And thank you for being a part of the Y on Earth community.